The award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We've got a great show for you today. We are on location at Cleveland State. Thanks to them for having us, letting us use their theater here to shoot our show. But it's all about creek fishing today, and we've got a guest with us, John Dalton. He's at Creek Fishing Adventures on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, so go check it out. We're going to talk creek fishing today. We have Mr. Dylan Maynard with us as well. He's an officer here in Bradley County, and it's going to be fun to chat with him. And Miss Mimi Barnes is helping me co-host.
Always happy to be here.
Mimi, I appreciate you jumping in and getting this show lined up. You made contact with John and kind of set this up and got it going, and I appreciate that. John, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll move down the line here.
Yeah, obviously my name's John. So I guess it kind of started creek fishing when I was about 5 or 6. We moved to this little place in Kentucky, southern Kentucky, and there was a creek behind it. And nobody in my family really fished, so I come from a big family. And so I'd go back there to the creek. Of course, my mom would kick us out of the house and make us go outside and find something to do. So I'd go back in the creek and catch little darters with cup and crawdads and little turtles and catch little fish. And I was always just interested in all the little stuff that was in there. And then we moved around. Fast forward, I played basketball and started working on trucks. Then I moved back over here to East Tennessee about 6 years ago. And I was like, I need to really get back into fishing and kind of just, having fun. And there's a bunch of streams all over the place here, everywhere. Yeah. And next thing you know, I'm catching all kinds of little fish out of little ditches and just anything on the side of the road or anywhere. And so then I'm watching all these YouTube videos, and there's a lot of big bass fishing or, this and that. I'm like, nobody's really targeting all the smaller species and just having fun with it. Yeah. And I just enjoy catching anything. So I'm like, well, I'll just start making YouTube videos. And first year I got like 200-300 subscribers. It's like going nowhere. I'm like, if I could just get something for free or make a couple dollars here or there, I just start doing it. And then all of a sudden it just in the spring, it was last 2 years ago, it just boom took off. Went from like 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers to like 15,000. Wow. Started making money off of it, and started making some decent money, keep making videos. And then a year and a month ago, I quit my job, and I'm doing this full time, just fishing however I want to fish, catch whatever I want to catch, make a video on it. That's awesome. Put it out there.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'll tell you that my aunt follows me on YouTube. That's about it. Dylan, tell us about yourself and where you're from and how you ended up here.
I'm originally from Jackson County, small little town of Gainesboro. Went to Tennessee Tech, majored in wildlife and fisheries sciences. Got hired on with the agency just a year ago. Been with the agency now for almost a year and a half. Currently the Bradley County Wildlife Officer.
That's awesome. Yeah.
All right.
Good addition to our region. I'll say that. Yeah.
I'm glad y'all are both here. Glad y'all are here to talk creek fishing and access and that kind of thing. And I was introduced to your fishing channel, and I got to watch, and man, you're fishing these little ditches, these little creeks, just grabbing a rod out of the back of your truck, and let's just try this spot. Let's see what happens here. So talk about how you find your spots and how you discover these little holes.
I get the most fun out of just fishing a brand new random place and just, I got a little, ultralight rod over there, 4-pound line, a little trout magnet or a little, crappie lure a lot of times. And, I'm just driving over something a lot of times, and I'm like, I wonder what's in there. Throw in there, and it's amazing how many fish are in these little holes. Like, you drive by it, you don't think much. You go up to it, and you're like, well, there's a lot more life here than I realized. 15 fish later and 7 different species, and you're like, well, that was a fun little hour, and I just have a blast doing things like that, and I'm just always on the lookout. And I've started doing a little bit more wading for smallmouth. Of course, Tennessee has got some of the best smallmouth creeks, or just they're a blast. But even these little ditches that got full of green sunfish or creek chubs, I have a blast catching those. And and if there's some water, there's fish in it, especially around here. If you can find a little place with water, there's going to be fish in there that you can go in there and catch.
Well, I was watching a video. I think you just recently posted. You called it urban ditch fishing. Is that it? Tell us about that one.
Yeah, I've done a few like that, but there's the Greenway kind of stops here in town, and upstream from it, there's a little place right in front of Starbucks, and it looks like there's nothing, and I'll go there. There's Coosa bass in there, largemouth bass, red breast, rock bass, green sunfish, and I've caught like 2-pound bass out of it. It's like a foot deep, and so I'll stop there and just, it's a 100-yard stretch, and I might catch 20 fish. And, and I love showing that kind of stuff because, and I get feedback all the time from people who are like, well, that's pretty neat. Let me try that, the creek behind my house or the creek down the road. And you're like, I went down there and I caught all kinds of fish. Never knew there was anything in there. I'm like, yeah, there's fish in there. You just got to try it out. I'm not afraid or embarrassed to go fish on the side of the road or fish somewhere where most people are going to be like, oh, that's for kids. I'm like, I'm having fun. So.
Yeah.
So do you go for numbers of different kinds of fish, or you just? I always say any tug on the line for me is like Christmas morning.
Yeah.
What's in there. But are you ever looking for specific fish, or are you just seeing what is actually in there?
Yeah, it depends. A lot of times, after I've figured out a place, or if I'm going kayaking or wading a bigger stream, I'm maybe targeting bass or spotted bass or smallmouth, where I'm like, okay, I'm actually gearing towards that, and then I'll change what I'm using some. But if it's a small stream, a lot of times it could be a whole bunch of crappie in there or anything. Just I love going to a place you catch 5 fish and 5 different species, or something like that, and you're like, what? So anything that I can catch. Sometimes I'll go with worms, fishing off the bottom. I've been trying to catch catfish here recently, and it hasn't worked out. But I was fishing, it was just Saturday, and then we were trying to catch, I'm about to pick up to leave, and I had a little bitty worm out there, and I caught a 9-pound carp.
Wow.
I'm like, that was just as much fun as anything.
But that put up a fight on that little ultralight.
Yeah, it took a little while to get that in.
Very cool.
That's great. So I want to kind of switch gears just a little bit and talk to Dylan. These urban fishing spots, those are pretty open and easy to access and things like that. But if there's some creeks and things that are harder to get to, and you got to cross properties and things like that, talk a little bit about the legalities of crossing people's properties and getting permission and that kind of thing to access these small streams and creeks.
Right, and that's a good topic. A lot of streams and creeks are going to run behind people's houses, so you got their private land that connects to these waterways. So the best thing to do is obtain permission from that landowner to access that creek. Just find out who owns it, go knock on the door of the house, and just introduce yourself, be polite, and ask them for permission to fish that area.
Yeah, most of the time, I would say they're pretty open to letting you cross over, or slip through, park at the end of my driveway, that's okay, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Most people are. They may tell you not to park in their grass or something like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they'll let you access.
And I'd say it's kind of like hunting, if you get permission, shut the gates and close up those, take the trash with you, that kind of thing. If you take care of the property, just how you'd like to see it, I'm sure they'll let you come back most of the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So have you ever run into any issues accessing some of those places like that?
I've been to a lot of places that look really good, and there's no trespassing signs. You're like, oh, I know there's good ones, but you have to control yourself. But I've been to several places where I'm like, you mind if I fish here? Like, oh yeah, you can fish here, and I know that guy. He don't mind you going down this area. And then there's greenways and state parks and national forests. There's so much public water that nobody's fishing really. You don't have to just go for trout. There's a lot of public water that's got plenty of bass and sunfish in there that I go all the time, and especially greenways. When I'm traveling, going somewhere, I'm always looking for a new greenway. I stopped at one in North Carolina the other day, and there's spotted bass like crazy. I was catching them like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just public water, and people are walking by and like, oh, there's fish in there, huh? I was like, yeah.
Didn't even know.
Yeah. So you talk about North Carolina. You did a video about a trip to North Carolina, and you met up with some other folks. Talk about that. How do you meet these new folks in these other areas?
Yeah, so I'm up to 73,000 subscribers on YouTube,
awesome.
And I've been doing it for 4 years.
Can you send us some?
Y'all need some help?
We need some some subscribers.
Subscribe here. But that's allowed me to meet just tons of people, and people reach out, and how, like Mimi was saying, or we were talking earlier, I just like catching fish, and then that allows me to meet other people that they just like catching fish. I'm not usually fishing with guys that are just targeting big bass, whatever. So it's a lot of these people just like catching fish. And so I met up with some people in the Croatan National Forest, and I caught some redfin pickerel. They were like that long. They were awesome. I was having a blast catching flyer and there was some pumpkin seed. There's several species that we don't really have a lot of them here. And it was just a little bitty stream in the National Forest that they knew where to go to. And then, so I've been meeting people here and, meeting people here, like, hey, come fish here, come fish here. So
Nice.
I get to fish a lot of different places and meeting people that enjoy just catching fish. They don't have to be going for a new PB every time or, a lot of people are like that. And that's why I try to bring it back. And that's my whole channel is kind of almost like a jab at some of these, huge YouTubers or huge fishing shows that all they do is catching 5 and 6 pound largemouth. Well, I don't have to catch that. I'll just catch anything, and you can have fun with it. You don't have to, put that much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I mentioned to John, it's so relatable. I just love it. I love being out there. I want to know what's in there. It's just what you're doing is very relatable.
Yeah.
So when we saw your YouTube channel, we all gravitated toward you right away because you're doing what we do. And we appreciate that you're out there. We can relate to how much you love it. So, it was a lot of fun watching the programs we have. We look forward to the next ones coming out.
Yeah, there's so many people I hear from all the time. I can't find anywhere to fish. I'm like, all you got to do is look around. You can find somewhere to fish.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be you don't have to have an expensive boat or anything. You can just find a little stream or something like that, and it's going to be full of stuff.
And we do have our maps page. Folks can find access on our maps page.
Our interactive maps at tnwildlife.org. Yeah, it's a great resource you can zoom in and see some of those creeks and where they're going. I mean, even a Google map can help you too. I mean, you start looking and zooming in, those creeks they're pretty big, and some of them can be pretty productive.
Yeah.
So
Dylan, anything that folks should be reminded of? Have their license.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Have a license.
Go outdoors, Tennessee.com.
Yeah. To fish these creeks, you do need a license, and streams and rivers. Some streams and rivers like Tellico, they have special regulations, so you want to keep up to date on that. You can always look in our fishing guide, and those regulations will be listed. But for most creeks, they're going to go by just statewide regulations.
Yep, and that's listed there. And if it's like you said, if it's something specific, you can dive into those bodies of water, and it'll tell you.
Yep, it'll tell you.
So, John, if folks are heading out, and you both can answer this too, chime in, Dylan. If folks are heading out, they've left their car behind, what do you carry with you?
If I'm just going out, I carry.
Go ahead and grab your bag. Yeah, show us what you got there.
All right, this is something I use like every fishing trip now. It's just a sling pack that I can throw over my shoulder, and there's not a ton of room for a ton of stuff, and that's what makes it. I like it even more. You're limited in what you can bring.
There you go.
You're not carrying a whole huge tackle box and stuff, but I got a little bag, a little box, and I just throw a bunch of little things in there. But
it's awesome.
This little lure here, if you watch my videos, I'll probably used it. It's a little Helgramite looking lure.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm always trying to find something new or find something that works really well.
Yeah.
And this is like the perfect creek lure for bass. They wear it out, and
very cool.
I catch everything on it. Of course, I love fishing little lures like the little crick hopper.
Oh yeah.
And you go to a little spot, you throw it in there, and so a lot of times these little creeks, fish they got to survive, and the strongest ones are the ones that are going to live. So you throw it in a little hole, stuff in there, they're racing to get to it. And it may be, several different species, but they just explode on it.
And then that one, it'll float, right? And
then
you can kind of crank it and it'll dive. And
it's like it floats, and you can twitch it or reel it in. Or, of course, I carry cameras and, and just, pliers and things like that. But that's all you need really to get out there and just, I'll take one rod, take this. And sometimes I'll go for 5-6 hours just walking, and if I'm going to a smaller creek, a little lure like this, a little panfish assassin on a 1/32 ounce jig head, I think I'll catch everything.
Yeah.
It's just a little bug or minnow, little thing. Like I said, when it falls in there, you flick it right into that little spot. It's just they're hammering it, and on a little ultralight rod, those fish are, especially red breast or something like that, they're so strong.
Yeah.
And casting is the biggest thing I've found. That is, I'll go fish with people, and they're not used to fishing in creeks. They're not catching anything. I'm catching fish left and right. Like you have to kind of. It's almost like hunting. You're sneaking up on these little holes, you're approaching them, you're trying to get that right cast to get right through the trees to get in there. So it's a challenge. It's harder than most people think to really get some of those skittish fish. And a lot of these creek clear streams, so you know how those fish can see you. So you're
wearing bright orange and bright yellow.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm standing back 15 feet off the bank, making a cast up in there. And whenever you do something like that, and you're like, it's almost like shooting a deer or something like that. You're like, yes, I targeted that fish. I caught that fish.
That's awesome.
You know, you let it go back in the water, and you're like, yep, I'll be back again to get it.
Yep.
Do you fish much topwater?
I've been trying to, not as much, just because it's like sometimes they're hitting and sometimes they're not. So I'm trying to get more into that. And there's no limit of how to fish. I talk to people all the time like, I fish this way, I fish this way. There's millions of ways to fish to catch a fish too. That's that makes fishing so fun. There's not a right and a wrong way to do something, but yeah.
It's awesome.
Anything safety-wise you would say to people? Don't wear flip-flops.
Yeah, wear some good shoes if you're going to be walking. Let somebody know where you're going. If you're going to be in a general area and you might not have phone service or something like that, tell somebody where you're going. That way, if you do stay out for a long period of time, you got a general idea of where you're at.
That's great.
Yeah,
Good
GPS
advice.
coordinates if you can or something like that. Yeah, general area is great to, if something happens, you never know what can happen. Had a lot of calls this year, a lot of things happened with boats and people went missing and
paddle
it's
craft.
tough.
Yeah.
So, let everybody know where you're going. This is a great way to introduce kids to the fishing, too, right? Do you have kids?
No, I don't, but I got a lot of nieces and nephews.
There you go.
And I work at a church, and I've worked on children's church for a long time, and I've got a lot of kids from inner city and stuff like that, and I'll take them out fishing, and watching someone catch a fish. And sometimes they don't, they're like, oh, this is boring. And sometimes when they catch that fish, they're like, wow, I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do with patience, but yeah, I love taking kids out fishing or I got a few spots where I'm like, all right, well, they can probably catch something here, and get them into doing it. And that's always fun to do. And I've taken a lot of people that just don't fish in general. And you got a really good chance of catching something out of a creek. I'm like, all right, well, you're probably going to catch something here. It's not like going out on a boat where you're like, okay, I'm not sure. So a lot of streams and stuff, you just find a good spot and that you can take somebody and you can really introduce a lot of people into fishing and just, and plus you don't have to, it doesn't take a long time. Like, let's just swing by here and fish for an hour. And that makes it a lot easier, especially with kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, keep a rod in your car. It's easy just to stop and cast for a few minutes. Yeah, that's awesome.
I got to ask, do you have a favorite fish?
The green sunfish is like, I don't know, I love it because it's just like it identifies as a creek fish. It's like what you catch in a creek, and they push up so far up a stream, and they'll be way up where nothing else is. But if I had a choice of just any fish, smallmouth bass is hard to turn down. It's
a pretty fish.
You're wading a knee-deep creek, and you throw into a little deep hole, and you get that fish, and he may only be a pound or a pound and a half, but he fights like he's a 4-pound fish. Big old wide tail. They're taking all over the place. That's really fun right there.
Yeah, that is fun.
We mentioned good shoes, but what if you don't want to wade or if you're wading? What kind of gear do you use for wading? And then what kind of gear do you use? Sometimes you kayak these streams too, right?
Yeah, if it's summertime, sometimes I'll wear pants because a lot of times I'll be wading and then I'll get out and go through bar patch or whatever. So, but a lot of times I'm wearing shorts and tennis shoes, and tennis shoes work fine. You can get all over. As long as you're not doing, too much slippery rocks, which I've gotten so used to wading. I'm like, when I go somebody else, I'm flying past. I'm like, what are y'all doing back there?
Tripping over themselves.
Yeah. So it's definitely tricky, and it takes some strong ankles and stuff to do a lot of that. But just use the shorts and t-shirt, whatever, and I'm going. And if I'm kayaking, I have a little bit more gear. Of course, first time I went kayaking down the Conasauga, I didn't wear my life jacket. And it's like 3 foot water. I'm like, no big deal. I turned over and got hooked. My finger got hooked, and I got caught in like this briar in this current. And the current was so strong, I couldn't stand up.
Wow.
So I'm like, I don't care where I'm going. I'm wearing a life jacket. So
thank you for saying that.
Like, I didn't. Point. I never thought about it that much before, but you never know what could happen. And it's easy to do. So, but I love kayaking down a stream. You're flowing down. You go over little rapids. You see animals. Saw some wild hogs last time I was at the Conasauga. And you're just catching lots of different fish. But yeah, there's like I said, there's so many different ways to do it and have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate you saying the life jacket thing, you know, and in our careers, unfortunately, we've seen some mishaps, and we really want to encourage people to always have that life jacket on, so thanks.
For sure.
And it happens in shallow water.
Yeah.
More times than what people think. So
Yeah. Can you speak on what's required for a kayaker?
anytime you're in a kayak, paddlecraft, and now even with the paddle boards, you need to have a life jacket with you. You don't have to wear it while you're out there, but you need to have it with you to where you can put it on. But that was a really good point about the life jacket in shallow water, because a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah, and you've had personal experience.
Yeah, that current's stronger than you think, and of course I know a lot of people kayak to Kobe and stuff like that, and you know even with life jackets it can still get dangerous situations and stuff. But
So I wanted to ask too. You said none of your parents didn't fish when you were growing up. Do they now? Have they gone with you?
no, not really.
We got to get them out there.
They got a celebrity in the family now.
Most of my family lives around here. My dad, he's pastor in a church, little church in Dayton, and he's pastored church pretty much all my life, and so he's really always focused on that, and you know he likes outdoor stuff, but he'll fish every once in a while, and that's kind of the way I was. I would fish, but until last few years, I really didn't realize how much more opportunity there is than you think. I used to always think, we got to go to the river and fish off the bank, or I can't go out because I don't have a boat. So this has really opened my eyes, and I feel like I've helped a lot of other people kind of like, hey, you just get out there, especially during this COVID. There were so many people out fishing and going to like trying new spots. I would even go to my little secret spots, and there'd be people there.
Not secrets anymore.
Oh no!
But it's awesome that there's so many different waterways throughout Tennessee, especially East Tennessee. That hey, if you got 30 minutes to go drive somewhere, you can go find somewhere to catch something.
So do you plan out your trips now, or is it? I mean, because you said you have people are reaching out to you and you have destinations in mind sometimes. Are you planning those out? Or is it just I wake up and I feel like fishing?
I'm going to shoot a video today.
I most of the time, if I feel like I'm going to be in town for a week, I'll just let me see what I want to do today. I'll wake up and hopefully I'll be able to keep doing this. I only do the fishing I want to do. Like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. Like, I might have an idea, like, this might get more views, but, I'm just not into that. I want to fish something I'm excited about fishing. But I've been reached out to a lot of people all over the country, and I try to set up trips with them, and it's tough, like, trying to plan everything out, and somebody's like, I'm over here, but I'm going up to Kentucky to kayak with a guy this week, later on. And so we kind of planned that out from a couple weeks ago, and then I just got back from a North Carolina trip where I got to go fish, catch a false albacore. Didn't even know what that was.
Well, enlighten me. I'm not sure either.
I think it's like a type of a tuna fish.
Okay.
It was about that long. I had on like a pretty heavy setup, and it took like 5 minutes to reel it in.
Wow.
And you're just casting off it's off a little island point that we went out to, and I was catching little pinfish and some lizard fish that were crazy looking. So I've gotten to do a lot more things through being full-time YouTube, and just allowed me to meet a lot of people. And the biggest thing that I'm really happy about is whenever I started making these videos, I was like, I want to make sure people know I'm a Christian and be like a Christian influence, and a good example, stuff like that. So I'm able to put like Bible verses on there. I'm able to talk about church or talk about what I want to do. And a lot of other people out there are like, I appreciate that. I appreciate you keeping it clean. And, my kids can watch this, and I don't have to worry about that, where there's so much, trash out there. But, the whole fishing turning into full-time job doing this is, a few years ago, I would never even have thought of that. I never made a YouTube video before. I didn't know anybody that made YouTube videos. It's just something I started to do, and now I'm doing it full-time, traveling around, fishing wherever I want to fish.
That's awesome.
Do you do
That's
all
a good
your
day.
Yeah, it's a great day. All your editing and everything?
Right now I do, of course I got a few different cameras I'm trying to use, and sometimes I'm setting one up, but I edit my video, have to go back. I'm 5 or 6 videos behind. I don't like the editing part. It's like work. So that's why I got to do that today before I get ready to go on my trip. So I get home and I need to really get caught up on a few videos, get them planned out.
It's a lot to it.
It is.
Editing's not the easiest thing, but that's cool. That's cool. Dylan, I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite type of fish? Now, you didn't become a wildlife officer by not enjoying the outdoors, I'm sure. So what do you like to do?
Man, It's going to sound cliche, but I love creek fishing. That's one of my favorite ways to fish. Which don't get me wrong, I love putting out jugs on Center Hill. We used to spend countless hours and days just putting out jugs on Center Hill, and I love catching big catfish. But as far as the variety of fish and a hard fighting fish, I love being in a creek catching coosa bass, red eye, rock bass, stuff like that.
Those are the fun
Very
ones.
fun.
Yeah. We were talking earlier. One of the creek fishing videos we put out on YouTube a long time ago, me and Doug and some other guys from the agency, Doug Markham, we were fishing, and that got the most views. That's probably the most viewed video on our YouTube channel. And it's like creek fishing's addicting. It's what everybody wants to do. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, you can start in an inexpensive way.
Yeah.
I mean, you can spend as much money as you want to on fishing, but you don't need a lot, and that's what's relatable for me. So I appreciate your videos.
I see that all the time. People, you can just go, and that's what I started with. I started like my first 50 videos was like a $10 rod, $20 fluger reel, and you can catch a ton of fish. The better stuff helps, but it doesn't take much to go catch something.
Yeah.
Fluger, that's what I use. I got a little fluger reel. I love that. And a little Shimano rod. It's amazing. Just a little setup, and you're perfect. You're ready to go.
Yeah, that's the part of it that, it encourages everybody. I mean, we love it. We all relate and we all get along because we love the outdoors so much. But there's so many people out there that might say, oh, I could never learn that or I could never do that. But we really do think you encourage people in that way. And we hope we do too. I mean, it's just, it's easy. Get out there and try it.
Yeah.
You don't need to know how to put that worm on the hook, but it helps.
Real quick, we're going to run out of time, but the Helgermite you mentioned, those are fun to catch and use live ones, and those are fun.
Those are great bait.
It is. That's what I caught some of my first smallmouth.
That is a favorite,
Everything likes it. Every fish in the creek likes a Helgermite.
Yeah, they're great. That's one of the top baits, and those plastic ones, you can kind of float them on top, or you can reel them on. There's a lot of technique and a lot of action you can get out of a single bait.
Yeah, you can do a lot with it for sure. And I use that one, and I catch all kinds of fish, and I do less. The less you do, the better sometimes.
There you go.
And you're just finding the lure that you like, that you familiar with or get comfortable with, and you can catch fish all day. Just getting used to it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Tell them where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. So Creek Fishing Adventures. YouTube is my biggest platform, and that's where I get my money, get paid from.
So go watch those, right?
Yeah. But, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and I leave all my information on there. If you want to send me something or message me, information's on my YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Did I see some merchandise on there, too?
Yeah. People send me stuff to try and send me different lures, and if I get reached out by, different brands to try something. Yeah. And I love trying different things, and that's how somebody sent me those Helgermites. Never used them before. Now it's my favorite lure.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, go check him out. Creek Fishing Adventures at Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and send him a note. He might take you fishing. Yeah. Or he's going to show you some good spots.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Thanks for what you do. And Dylan, thanks for what you do in the county here. Thanks for what you do for the agency. Yeah,
welcome aboard. So
thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show, and we appreciate everybody tuning in and watching and listening today, and keep coming back. This is Tennessee Wildcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.